Hey, thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to be looking at variations of the Meridian stretches. If you've seen some of my other Meridian stretching videos, you might have thought some of those stretches are a little bit too demanding for your level of flexibility. These modifications build up to those full versions of the stretches or replace them with something that's a little bit more manageable for you, still getting the benefit of the Meridian stretching exercises. So without further ado, let's get started. You can start off with your thumbs clasped. Stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. Hook your thumbs behind your back like I just showed you and extend your fingertips. Bend at your hips. It doesn't matter how far you get, and it doesn't matter how far your arms go up. If your arms are down by your back, that's okay. The important thing is to be stretching out like you're trying to touch your fingertips to the sky. In this stretch, try to take at least 3 deep breaths. Keep your knees straight if you can, but if you can't, don't worry about it. And remember, feet about shoulder width apart. Make sure they're not too narrow, and your toes should be pointing out to the side slightly. You can relax and just let your hands hang down. However you want, just slowly get down onto the ground. This next stretch, we're going to start with sitting on the ground and lean over to one side. See if you can pull your other leg behind you as far as it will go comfortably. If you have more difficulty, you can turn more to the side, and if it's easier, you can lay more flat. You can do this on your hand or on your elbow, or all the way back on your back. And you can lie to the side like this, or you can lie all the way back with your arms overhead. Depends on which variation of these is more comfortable, but pick whichever one is best for you, and then focus on 3 deep abdominal raising breaths. That means you're going to be breathing as deep into your lungs as possible so that your diaphragm is expanding into your belly and making your belly go up and down. When you're coming up, you can roll up to the side and walk your hands up. And then when you're ready, you can just change sides. So, leaning to one side, other leg goes behind you. Make sure the foot is not in an awkward position. And you can either go back onto your hand, just like this, and push your hip out, or down on your elbow. And again, pushing your hip, you're trying to stretch the front line. Or all the way back to the side, or flat back to the ground. You want your palms facing your head if you're interlacing your fingers and reaching them overhead. Again, picking any one of the variations, pick the one that's easiest or most comfortable for you. If you feel strain, it's a little too much. Focus on 3 deep, long breaths. Rolling to the side and coming back up when you're ready. Now we're going to move on to the next position. So this one, we're keeping the soles of our feet together, and they don't have to be pulled right up to your butt. You can put your sole next to your calf, and that can give you the perfect distance. If you feel like your back is being pulled down and you're really bending at your back, put something under your butt so that your butt is a little higher than your feet. This way you'll be able to hinge at your hips and not in your back. You don't want to bend your back to make this stretch happen. You want to hinge at your waist or your hips. Focus on 3 long deep breaths, and you can hold your feet, but don't pull yourself with your hands. You can extend your elbows out to the sides. Even if you're good at these stretches, staying on the bolster will help you to hinge even more at your hips so that you're getting more out of your range of motion. For the next stretch, you're just going to extend your legs out in front of you. You can keep the bolster under your butt for the next few stretches. Try and keep your heels touching. If it's too tough to do this with your knees straight, you can do it with your knees bent. But when you're comfortable with it, you want to straighten your legs and hinge from the hips again. Focus on 3 deep breaths. Try not to bend your back too much, and just reach forward. You can hold your ankles or toes if you want to, but again, don't try to pull yourself into the stretch using your hands. You want to use your own muscles to make this happen. Okay, so next we're just going to cross our legs. It doesn't matter how bad you are at crossing your legs, you just do your best. And again, if you're bending at your back, make sure you got a bolster under you. And you want to cross your arms over and bend forward. So you're crossing your legs and you're crossing your arms, focusing on 3 long deep breaths. Again, thinking about hinging at the hips before you start rounding your back and letting your head drop. For this one, you'll be pulling your elbows inward towards your body. And for the other side, you should switch which leg is in front and switch which arm is in front. My left arm is in front and my left leg is in front. And again, 3 deep breaths, and try to just focus on relaxing into the position, feeling the stretch throughout the entire body. Finally, the variation of the split stretch, you'll just extend one leg out to the side and fold the other one in. And you can interlace your fingers with the palms facing the sky and bend to the side. If you can reach your leg, you can hook your elbow in front of your leg to help with a little bit of leverage to turn your body. The idea is you want to have your body turned sideways and stacked over your leg. Try both sides. Palms up overhead, hinging at the hips. Doesn't matter how far you go, but if you can, try and hook that leg. If not, that's okay. Focus on deep diaphragmatic breathing and try and relax into the stretch. If it feels strenuous, ease it back a little bit. None of these stretches should feel like a hard effort. They should all feel more like opening than straining. Next, we'll finish off just with a little bit of lying down. So lying on your back is a great way to really feel the effect of what you just did. Just pay attention to your arms and your legs, your torso, your back, your neck, and take in the way you feel. Don't try to look for anything, but just feel. Again, focusing on the breathing. And after a few breaths, you can finish up and go about your day. You don't want to feel any discomfort in any of these stretches. If you feel like you're straining, then find a variation. Find some kind of, use a bolster or anything. But the point is, if you're feeling one particular joint really lighting up in one of these stretches, find a variation or use a bolster. In order for it to be a meridian stretch, it has to be an even sensation throughout the entire meridian. Just focus on the feeling. If you feel too much tension in your hip, find a way to make that tension a little more invisible and get an even sensation of tension throughout your legs, your torso, your arms, your shoulders, everything. And if you're really wrenching a stretch to a point of discomfort, you're basically pinching a bottleneck and you're creating more tension. Your muscles aren't going to relax in response to that. I mean, they might superficially, but it's not going to stick. The best way to use the meridian stretches is to incorporate it into a daily practice, to do it regularly, not just before you're going to work out, but every single day. This routine can take as little as 5 minutes if you're just taking those 3 deep breaths, but you can also linger in each stretch and make it last a little longer, or do the whole sequence a few times in a row. The best way to understand what the meridian stretches can do for you is to experience it for yourself. My challenge to you is to commit to 21 days, 3 weeks of doing the meridian stretches every single day. Pay attention to how you feel emotionally, physically, how your stress levels are, how your sleep is, how your digestion is, because all of those things can be affected by a cumulative practice of the Meridian stretches. But again, don't take my word for it, experience it for yourself and make your own decision. You're not really acquiring any knowledge until you experience something for yourself. So give it a try and let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.